This interview is a special one for me personally because you have been my mentor and you have seen me from the point where I was just an average trainer.
What makes you think you know what you're talking about? And let me
Mm,
see your financial statement. I mean, people just shout out in the middle of a program. That was
mm.
not uncommon. Well, everybody teaches sales. Yeah, I know. But not everybody will teach sales the way you'll teach it. Well, but everybody does social media. I go, no, but not everybody does it the way you do. In India, for example, India has been a country and a land of spirituality and growth for centuries. When the British came in, they basically hijacked the education system and removed the spirituality from it and replaced it with reading, writing, mathematics, science, and all of that. And that's the system that went forward. If you think about the things that people want the most out of life, what do they want? They want wealth, they want health, they want happiness, they want relationships, they want to have a connection. None of these things are taught in school. Nothing. Communication, not taught.
Hey guys, Sid's here. Welcome to this exclusive interview. For me, it's truly an honor and privilege to be interviewing this person that you're seeing over here. He is the master of masters. He's impacted thousands of trainers. And this person has literally transformed people who are like coal into diamonds. And that is the superpower of the person that you see here. Truly an honor to have the one and only Blair Singer here. And he is also an advisor with Robert Kiyosaki, one of the Rich Dad advisors, the author of the book Sales Dog, Team Code of Honor, and so many other amazing initiatives and programs that Blair has done. Blair, thank you so much for your time, and truly an honor and privilege to be doing this interview with you.
Well, Sid, thank you so much for having me. I mean, your tribe is an amazing group of people and they have an amazing leader with you. So it's a big honor for me to be able to talk to you.
Thank you, Blair. This interview is a special one for me personally because you have been my mentor and you have seen me from the point where I was just an average trainer to pulling that magic out of me and many, not just me, so many others in India and all the Success Gyan trainers. I just wanted to find out, what was it like when you got started in the training and coaching world? What was the environment like back then?
Well, first of all, for people that want to know what that was like, there's really no social media. So when I got started back in the 80s, there was really no social media of any kind. And so marketing was very simple. It was like long copy, letters, and a few emails as people started doing more emails. So it was the marketing was really different. It was a very slow process. And you had to be a very good copywriter or have some good affiliations. But I tell you that the basics of training, the basics of how you get people to change behaviors, which is really what training is about, is getting a person to go from point A to point B. Those fundamentals, those principles, I don't think have changed for thousands of years. And I think that what happened was in the very beginning, there were people that were really, really good at doing what they're doing. Like some of them that Jack Canfield,
Yes.
Mark Victor Hansen, Tony Robbins came into play. And these guys were really, really, really good at what they did. Unfortunately, what's happened over the years is that the better marketers became more popular trainers, but they weren't necessarily the best trainers. Now I think that's starting to come around with what you're doing and what we're doing together. That's changed quite a bit. But in the very beginning, there was no social media. Like, where do I get leads from? Well, you got to get a list. You got to find some affiliations. And again, some of the basics, like going into other people's rooms and doing live presentations, was a very big deal. Robert Kiyosaki and I, when we started Lulu, doing little previews for a Money and You program, which was a 3.5-day program that we didn't even create. Our teacher, our mentor, Marshall Thurber, had created it, and we were out there doing little previews in people's offices and all kinds of stuff, and had to learn how to sell, but it was mostly one-on-one sales. So it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. So no social media. And was it more like, flyers, or, you good different associations and somehow get people into the room? What were the strategies back in the 80s?
Yeah, well, yeah, you had to have a flyer and the little, the little threefold
Yes.
flyers, trifold flyers. So you had to have one of those, and the marketing copy had to be very succinct and what you were going to learn. And I don't know that anybody ever looked at those flyers, but that was the thing. You had to have
Mm.
one. But like I said, mostly it was pretty much the same in the fact that you had to be able to get in front of a group of people and prove to them that you could do something. Here's the other thing that was very different.
Mm.
Very skeptical environment. I mean,
Okay.
personal
Mm.
development back in the 80s was like, that was like woo woo, and that was like fringe, and and you faced a lot of opposition, lots of resistance in many places, particularly in the business community. I'm not sure
Mm.
about the personal development community, but we were in
Yeah.
the business sector, and it was like, what makes you think you know what you're talking about? And let me
Mm.
see your financial statement. I mean, people just shout out in the middle of a program. That was
Mm.
not uncommon. And that was right through the 80s. So you had to learn how to stay conscious, stay
Mm.
calm. And what we used to do is every Thursday night, I remember this in Honolulu, with about a dozen people, we would lock ourselves in a room and
Mm.
just drill and drill and drill and just throw the worst, nastiest objections, insults, screaming, yelling that we
Wow.
could, because we felt we needed that. It was like battle. You needed that in order to be able to hold your position when you're actually in a room.
Wow. Mm. Must have been pretty intense, those days. And yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, were you able to notice, like, when did you start to see the openness? I mean, like, people being more open to programs and things like that? Because I think before that, it was the personal development world. The big influences have been Think and Grow Rich, and some of these books. And then, as far as the program-based models are concerned, at what stage, which year you started to notice people getting more open, and the it
Well, I
growing?
think it was. I think a lot of it was your niche. Who was your market?
Mm.
We we started off. We wanted to be entrepreneurs, and we had this notion of combining business development and personal development together.
Yes. Mm.
And that was the reason we faced such resistance, I think, in the very beginning.
Mm.
People that were teaching personal development and working with those crowds and those spiritual gurus and all that,
Yes.
I don't think they ever faced that kind of resistance. I think
Okay.
that, and people that were doing just straight up business stuff, as long as you had good credentials and you had earned the right to do it, didn't face a whole lot of resistance. But for us, of course, we had to do things differently, right? we came onto this formula that, and I think Marshall was one of the first ones, is that the combination of both real personal development and self growth, personal growth,
Yes.
and the business of selling and teams and marketing and all, and combining those together was the magic formula. And now, all these years later, it is. It
Yes.
totally is, because the only thing that stops somebody from changing a behavior, and it's not just communication behavior, it's marketing behaviors, it's selling behaviors. The only thing that's stopping them is some sort of resistance that they've got going on, which is a personal development issue based on prior experiences, what they've been told, what I call their little voice. So I
Yes.
think that your question is, when did it start to open up? We just persisted. And I think in the 90s, it began to open up quite a bit. And now it's acceptable. The challenge now is, does the person really that's teaching really understand it themselves? Do they
Yeah.
practice it themselves?
Mm.
I give you an example. I mean, next week, Robert, myself, a couple of the other advisors, we're going to a retreat for 5 days just to have coaches work with us for 5 days, just to work on our personal development stuff. And I don't know that very many trainers do that. I know you do. I know that you do. But I don't know that very many people do that, because they go, yeah, well, I understand personal development. But if you look at their track record, it's not always the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's, in fact, that leads me to the next question is, you have trained thousands of world-class trainers, and you say that you're going through the personal development journey and it never stops. I mean, what drives you to do more and more and more of this? Like, what's that factor that keeps you in the game?
Well, I've thought about that many times, and I'm not sure. I'm really not sure the answer. I think it's a series of answers. I think one of the answers is that I just like to learn. I
Mm,
just have always felt ever since being a little kid, I just like to learn new stuff. And then when I get it, I love to share. Isn't this cool? Let me share this with you. Now, not everybody wants to know, but I've just always loved to learn. I didn't like school that much, but I love to learn. And so that's one of the reasons. But as I've grown in this business and in this career and watched all of the people, I just see that the need for what we do and the need for really good teachers and leaders is greater than ever before. And if you don't believe that, just take a look around. Okay. I think that my personal philosophy, you've heard me say this before, there's not a single problem that we face as a human race, for that matter, that cannot be solved by people, but by
yes.
people that know how to cooperate, how to get their egos out of the way, how to collaborate with each other, how to let go of national boundaries and and laws of their own group and all those kinds of things, and work together to get things done. And it can actually happen in a very short period of time, but it doesn't necessarily go that way because human beings don't necessarily do things that way. And we
Yes.
go through these ebb and flow. So your question is what gets me up is because I think it's critical. I think that the future of our civilization, I think the future of the planet is in the hands of people that can be great leaders, teachers, and facilitators. Otherwise, through climate change, through economics, through whatever, we'll destroy the place. And we've proven that we can come pretty close to doing that. But I think that with people like you, with your tribe, that gets me up in the morning. It's kind of like, I don't want to do another webinar. I mean, how many webinars have I done in my life, right? And I'm thinking, but you got to, because there's going to be one person there that's going to say, yeah, I need to do this. I need to step up. I've had this feeling for a long time, and somewhere in their DNA, there's a teacher and a leader and experience to share, and so that's why I do it. I think it's a worthwhile
Amazing.
game.
Hmm.
I think that of all the things I could be doing with my life, it gives me a sense of purpose and direction. And I love the people that I get to meet in the process.
Awesome, awesome, Blair. Thank you. In fact, this idea that you just communicated is, I mean, it went so deep into me. All the programs that I've attended of yours is, I mean, the urgency of this, creating this next breed of leaders, teachers, in turn, who will make a difference in the world, and the ripple that it's going to create. With the bumblebee example that you always give, I mean, that it's always in my mind. It's always in my mind. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that out. Uh, which leads me to the next question. Like, everybody wants to make a difference in this world. Like, everyone who comes into the training and coaching industry, yes, they want to make a difference, but the
Right.
biggest elephant in the room is, what niche do I pick? So what would you say, like, how, if somebody is not sure about their topic, what do you think is the best approach to it, according to you?
Well, I think you hit it right. I think first you have to have the urge. You've got to want to do something. You have to want to share, and not everybody wants to do that. There's a lot. Fortunately, there's a lot of people that do, but not everybody wants to. And I'm not saying everybody should, but if you have that urge to really teach and share, I think and you don't know what your topic is, we have a process. We actually teach it at one of our at the in the trainer mastery program series
Yes.
in our gold certification. But part of it is to, first of all, what is the message that's already in you? It's in your DNA. And step one is take a look at the 6 or 7 most significant stories of your life. The stories that changed the trajectory or changed the direction of your life. Could have been with your family, could have been at work, could have been just a personal experience, but something that changed your life. Like when I first tried to teach, I got jumped really badly by a very successful business guy who called me out in front of 150 people, said I didn't know what I was talking about. That changed my life. That really changed my life. That was back 1982 or 83. And that changed everything. It could have forced me to quit, but it forced me to completely change how I viewed myself. And what was the message there? The message for me was, you got to earn the right, and you got to be honest, and you got to be truthful. And so for me, that was a big message that I've continued to develop. So what are the six or seven stories that change your direction? Number one. Number two, what's the message in those stories? And number three is, where did you learn it? Did you learn it in the workplace? Did you learn it at home? Did you learn it through relationships? And in there, with and there's some other pieces, but you'll find your topic. I had a person once that said, I just learned in all my experiences, never quit. That's the message for me. The universe trying to teach me never to quit, never to quit. Okay, good. So where'd you learn that? Well, here. I go, what have you been doing the last 5 years? Selling. I said, well, are you good at sales? Yeah, pretty good at sales. So is the message of never giving up and never quitting appropriate for selling? She goes, absolutely. Okay, so maybe. So, and again, really your topic is right in front of you. The problem is yes, we can't see it. And so that's why if you use those processes, that'll help quite a bit.
Absolutely. I still remember when I attended Making the Stage with you, and I was just talking like, I'm a social media guy, I'm a social media trainer. And then you're able to really go much deeper in there and pull something out, which, I mean, I realized at that point is, I'm not here to just teach people social media. There's something deeper than that. Yes, social media is a tool, but ultimately I want people to use that tool to make a difference. And then I had this, it was like a bulb on moment. And I think that's the point. The message was always there, but it was so fuzzy that I was only focusing on the external. Yes.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly right. And I think that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it out there, all of us, there's a message that it's trying to teach us. Each of us, as a spiritual being, if you will, has a curriculum. It's like your curriculum is different than mine. Now it's similar. That's why we're both trainers, but there's a curriculum, and and what is the curriculum for you? What is it you're supposed to be learning this time around? You're in a body and you're learning something. And what is it? The thing that keeps replicating in your space. Maybe you've learned it. Maybe you haven't learned it yet. And if you know, the reason I say that is because things that you don't learn and they come back to you again, the second time around, it comes back with a higher intensity, and the third time with a higher intensity yet, until you finally get the lesson. So I'm going, okay, got it. Okay. So what is that for you? And in there that's your part one of, could be not just one, but could be your one of your messages. And if you can deliver that to the world, and it doesn't need to be, here's the other thing. People think it's got to be unique. It doesn't have to be unique. You're unique. So your story and how you got to it is what makes it unique. So it doesn't have to, well, everybody teaches sales. Yeah, I know, but not everybody will teach sales the way you'll teach it. And well, but everybody does social media. I go, no, but not everybody does it the way you do. So don't worry about that. You start worrying about what other people are doing, you're never going to get off of square one. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Blair, for that. It is a very good point. So it's the stories, it's the message that's coming back every time, and then where we learned it, and we make a pattern of that, and then that's the starting point to the niche show. There's much more which is there when you attend Blair's programs, which leads me to the next question. Blair, is you've trained so many trainers over the years. What do you think are the core attributes of a world-class coach / trainer? And just to extend a little bit, it's a very clear difference that you and I can see whenever I attended training programs. Sitting in the room, I was very clearly able to see trainers who have been trained by you versus just any other trainer. There was a mark of a difference in the way that they would show up, in the way that they would present themselves, and the authenticity that used to come out. So according to you, if you have to crystallize it down to the attributes of a world-class trainer from your view, what do you look for?
Well, I think that I and Kiyosaki, I'm not sure, and maybe even you are proof positive that what you can't judge a trainer by the cover, okay, in the beginning, because we were terrible, horrible in the very beginning. I think though that one of the things that I've observed is a certain desire, obviously a desire, a certain level of energy, and a willingness to put the energy out, and as you mentioned, is to be authentic and be real. I think that those are critical. I think that's kind of natural. Some people have a certain force, a certain energy, a certain life force that they want to put out to the world. And you can pick up on that pretty quickly. Now, if you don't have that, doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you got to do a little bit more personal development work to find out why it's being masked right now, because I believe everybody's got it. Okay. But you may be wearing a mask, a disguise, or whatever that shuts it down. But with that force of energy, then it becomes the willingness to can be a continual student. Well, I made $5 million in real estate, so I'm now a trainer. Okay, great. So what have you done lately? and what are you doing to keep yourself current? And what are you doing to keep studying on your personal growth, on your development? And so it's that willingness to be a great student, and the willingness to work on yourself. I think that beyond that, the skill set is not that tough. I mean, the skill set is the willingness to ask questions, to flip the educational process around. Education, as we talk about at Trainer Mastery, comes from the word educare, which means to draw out of. Doesn't mean to jam into. So the whole idea of education, the way we teach it, is through a series of questions and fishing and all that stuff, is to pull the information from people, not to manipulate it, but to get them to come to their own discoveries. And that requires a lot of accelerated learning and experiential stuff, where they can then get their own light bulbs and their own ahas. Now, if you recall when we did Making the Stage, a lot of that was me asking you questions. And when you came to the, I remember distinctly when you came to the realization of why you doing what you're doing had to do with your grandfather. And right. But I didn't know that. I don't know. I didn't know your background, but by asking the questions and by digging into the core, it popped out, and it's been there ever since. Right. So I think that to be a great trainer, to be a world-class trainer, I think with the desire to learn. So for me, I was good in sales when I got into training. And I think that's unfortunately, if you can't sell, nobody's going to hear you. And that's just a skill you must learn. Well, I don't like to sell. I'm not good. I understand, but you're going to have to learn how to do that. Otherwise, I think you can do that in any business, but for sure in this one. So I've always said I could take I could take a salesperson, somebody who's good in sales, and make them a great trainer faster than I could take a teacher and make them into a great trainer. Because a salesperson is adamant about getting their point across and is adamant about serving somebody else. Absolutely.
It makes so much of sense. And I've just noted these points: the desire, the energy, the authenticity, the life force. They need to ask questions to pull out, and also be good at sales. And all of these are the attributes from what you just said right now. Thank you, Blair, for sharing that. And let's go to the flip side. Why do you think coaches and trainers fail in their business in spite of going through programs? I'm pretty sure there are thousands of people who have gone through even your programs, and been through. Even I've seen many of people who have done train the trainer with me and Making the Stage with me, but some of them they really not come out there. So what do you think is the reason why, in spite of everyone getting the same experience and knowledge, why is it some people don't make it?
Well, I'm just going to point blank. I'm going to say it's sales. I'm going to say that the biggest reason that people fail in the business or quit is because they just can't get their head around selling, marketing, and doing those things. And these days, as time goes on, back in the 80s and then early 90s, it wasn't as big of a deal. But now in the 2000s and 20s, it's a very big deal. And if you are unwilling to learn that skill set, or to surround yourself with a team that can support you with that skill set, you're going to suffer and struggle, and it's going to not going to be easy. So I think that's one of those. But the reason goes beyond that. Why would a
Mm.
person not? You have to ask yourself, why would a person not want to learn that? So there's that's what I'm saying. There's a personal development issue behind every business development issue. So if you can't sell, why not? Well, it's because I'm just not good at it. Well, because you don't like rejection. Is that possible? Because you don't like the fact that you might do a webinar and nobody will show up or nobody will buy. And you find that rather than finding that motivating to you, you find it discouraging to you. So that's a personal development issue that you can change if you choose to do that. Depends how badly do you want to get your message out to the world? How badly do you want to help other people? And I would say that if that stops you, it was a nice idea, but you weren't that excited about it. I think that the other reason that people fail is authenticity. I think that they have a hard time getting to the truth. And so you can spot them up on stage. It only takes you about 2 minutes to listen to somebody to tell whether they are the real deal or
Mm.
whether they're just going through the show and the actions. And I think that that's unfortunate, because the ability to get to the truth for yourself, to be able to tell the truth, to be authentic, to be real, no holes barred, is liberating. I think in the Bible it says the truth will set you free.
Yes.
Um, it may upset you in the process, but it will set you free. And so back in the early 80s, when Marshall came to Robert, myself, and actually about 100 other people and said, would you like to learn how to teach? We got invited. And out of that whole group, only 3 of us ended up surviving it.
Wow. Mm.
So there were, so 97% dropped out, right? Why? Because of the reasons we're talking about. It was when people saw that it was, I'm really going to have to work on me. I really need to have to work on me in order to do this. They kind of faded away. Well, it's okay. I'm just going to go out and make money some other way. And then that's fine for them. That was fine for them. It's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to do this, my point of view, and the reason that what you and I do is so different, is that you need to walk the talk. And you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a multimillionaire. You don't need any of that stuff, but you just need to keep working on it, actively working on it. I talked to somebody in our tribe, for example, and when we certify people, one of the requirements to go to advanced levels is you have to get regular personal development coaching every month. And I can tell if somebody's been doing it or not just by their languaging. And because it changes the way a person looks at the world, it changes your ability to lead, it enhances your family life, your personal life, your life with your children, the way people look at you. There's just lots of benefits to it. So I think that people fail in those areas on the selling side, because they don't want to learn it. Number 2, on the personal development side, they just can't. They don't want to keep up with it.
Perfect. Thank you, Blair, for letting us know. Yep. Amazing. Which leads me to the next question, which is like, as you connect the dots backwards, you might have seen so many models and media also evolving and changing. And even now after COVID, everything is changing so fast. According to you, like if you had a crystal ball, like where do you see the coaching and training industry moving forward in then projecting into the next 5-10 years? Do you have any vision on that, Blair?
I do, but I don't know how accurate it is. I mean, I have a vision of it, and I think that, first of all, you've heard me say this before, that in April of 2020, the entire education system, public education system, particularly of our planet, got flipped on its back.
Yes. Yes.
And it got exposed of cracks in the foundation that really, that's a system was designed for the Industrial Revolution with a few modifications, but it's irrelevant. In India, for example, India has been a country and a land of spirituality and growth for centuries. Back in the early 1800s, I think in the 1830s, when the British came in, they basically hijacked the education system and removed the spirituality from it and replaced it with reading, writing, mathematics, science, and all of that. And that's the system that went forward. It's not just India, it was the whole world. And so that's just not relevant. Some of that's just not relevant anymore. So what I see is what Dr. Buckminster Fuller said, is one of my mentors, said that every industry has a lag time. And the longest lag time, by the way, lag is the difference in time between an idea and its implementation, for example.
Okay.
The stars in the sky, the light is in lag. It's like that star may be gone, but it takes 10 million years for the light to get here, right? That's lag. The longest lag industry that we know of is education, 50 years, 50 years. So what happens is it's a very slow industry to change, very slow. But what you see now with COVID-19 is it's accelerated quite a bit. If you think about the things that people want the most out of life, what do they want? They want wealth, they want health, they want happiness, they want relationships, they want to have a connection. None of these things are taught in school. Nothing. Communication, not taught at all. So you've already seen that what it's revealed, that the things that people want the most, they can't even get through the school system. The school system actually almost teaches the opposite of those things. They teach that cooperation is cheating in school and crazy things like that. And that communication is a one-way communication from the teacher to the student. So what you see right now is this flood of trainers on the internet, on YouTube, all over the place, coming, and people paying real dollars, not a lot of dollars, but real dollars to learn things. They don't have to pay $150,000, $200,000 for a Harvard education anymore, because I just read that a Yale professor that teaches happiness and success decided that, and she was teaching it at Yale.
Okay.
She decided that more people wanted to learn it. So now she's on the internet, she's teaching it for a small price, and she's flooded with people that want to learn it. That's the future. The future is that those big institutions will exist for the people that need technical skills like engineering, medicine, law, things like that. But for the average person and for business person, there'll be circles and institutions of influence, but I believe that that whole educational system is cracked, is failing. It's really an elaborate babysitting system to babysit kids, so parents can go to work, and that whole thing is now changed. Now everybody's working from home and training their own kids. So I think that while the pandemic has been horrific, horrible, it's given us a gift as a bit of a glimpse as to what the future looks like. People at home, teaching at home, and finding the education and vetting the education that you want and going to those sources.
Awesome. Amazing, Blair. Totally with you on that. In fact, I was also thinking about this, and it just popped into my head the other day. Like, the whole training coaching industry started off with more personal-based models, like one-to-one and personal coaching. Then we had the program-based models, like live events, seminars, and then we saw the product-based models come after that, like physical products as well as digital products. And with what I've been doing last 2 years is I'm building a platform. So the platform where we can have products, we can have programs, and we can have personal coaching all under one most community-centered approach. I think I just note and was thinking about it. I think this is what we need to do.
Yeah,
like,
no,
if everyone can. Yes.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. So what you've said is that you've created digital products, okay, which obviously is of huge demand now. You also have platforms to create live programs,
Yes.
coaching programs. And you've done the third thing that you just mentioned, which I've done too. And I think that the great trainers as yourself will continue to do is you create tribes. Create
Mm.
tribes of people, of like-minded people that have a core methodology, a core philosophy that work together. I mean, I take a look at my tribe, Blair Singer Training Academy, and there's several hundred people around the world, about 40 countries. And I look at the amount, how we support each other, we market with each other, we share intellectual property together. I mean, it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, if you were to go out and outsource that or source that yourself. And the average person couldn't do that. But because through cooperation, we create wealth without having to, and we create personal wealth for ourselves without having to spend all that kind of money. So I think that's from an economics perspective, that's the future. And I think
Yes.
that what you've done, there's a lot of people that have gone into the digital space. But the next step, there's a big difference between digital product, digital education, and a personal live transformational experience, which I
Yes. Yes.
believe, is something that has to be facilitated at this point. I haven't seen. I just think that the variables of human behavior and asking the right questions. Maybe you could get artificial intelligence to do that, but I don't. It's just not the same context. And you have successfully put that together with your platform and your tribe. And I think what's evidence of that it's working is look at the numbers that you're pulling in right now, which are amazing. And so I applaud you for that and to be on that leading edge of it. But I think it's both. It's the transformational experience. It's also the digital product. In some
Yes.
cases, I just want to do this on my own. Give it to me, and I can get a certain place. But the ability to change your behavior and to get whatever little voice issues you have in the way out of the way to open you to a whole new world of freedom and growth. I think that's still very much needed.
Absolutely, Blair. In fact, I want to ask you, what was your experience now, moving your programs online? You're still able to deliver the impact through Zoom. I know there's no physical room in front of you, but the impact and the transformational experiences, I've seen it happening. People inspired of sitting in their homes and doing it. What was that feeling for you when you did it for the first time, or probably moving all your programs online?
Well, when it happened, when all the programs immediately got locked down and couldn't do them, I just said, okay, so let's just do it online. And I was fully confident that we could do it because of the way we do things, right?
Yes.
But even the promoters and other people are like, oh, I don't know, and all this whining and moaning, and it became a sales process. Just let us do one or two, and you can believe that it's not going to be the same, but it's going to be pretty good, and it has. And I think that if you understand the technology, it's not complicated technology. If you can do a lot of really good stuff, but that's why it requires a better trainer to do that. I always say this, if people go, well, everything's online, I can do that. I just put up a camera and I'm good. I go, well, hopefully, but if you were boring offline and you put a camera on you, you're going to be even more boring.
Yes.
Because all the camera does is magnify what you're already doing. See, in a room, it's all kind of dispersed. But right now, the only thing that the audience sees is you. and so if you don't have the tools and the skills to be able to facilitate, to educate the way we define that, and to be
Yes.
able to use our methodology, you're not going to be very popular, and you're just not going to get your point across. So I think, for me, in answer to your question, when it happened, I was very excited. Okay, let's take this baby for a test run. Let's see how this goes. And, it was a little rough in the beginning, but now it's getting faster and faster. And there are crews that work the technology are getting better and better. And we're getting bolder and bolder. And we're creating the same kind of transformation. Some people come to us and go, oh my God, the live online was actually better than the live in the room. Why? Well, first of all, they're at home. It's relaxed. The tension is lower. And so if you understand the context, as long as the trainer knows how to set a context, it's tight enough that when you're here, you're here. Okay. You're not somewhere else. You're right here. And when we go to break, you can go hug your family, do whatever, but you come back here. So yeah, I've been very, very excited about it. And of course, as bandwidths get faster, it'll get
Yes.
better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I was really amazed by the transformation that we had in the trainer mastery program, and even the powerful sales presentation, master facilitators was amazing. I saw a lot of people, have those popcorn moments, like this popped and they were a different person after they went through all those exercises. Amazing, Blair. Thank you for really coming online now with the same kind of experience. Next question, Blair, is now with so many people doing very similar topics, and this is again, I think, uh, even in my community, a lot of members are doing similar things. Like a lot of them in career space, a lot of them are in the health space, and it's booming in India right now. And with so many people coming in, there may seem like a sense of competition in the marketplace. So, what are your views on that, and how can one cut through the noise?
It's a great question. And I don't have the perfect answer. You would probably have a better answer for this because you know the type of marketing you do. But here's my thought. My thought is, well, in sales training, because I started in sales training. So sales training, there's got to be 1 million sales trainers around the world, right? At
Yes.
the minimum, right? So what's going to make you different? Well, one thing can be your methodology. So if your methodology is a bit different, that's going to cut half the competition away. Okay, easily. If you're good at what you do, that's going to eliminate another 10 or 20%. Okay, so you're starting to whittle it down a little bit. And then what I'm going to say is that from a marketing perspective, who is your niche? I mean, who are the people you're talking to? Where is your tribe? And I believe that everybody's got an audience, and your audience may be not quite the same as mine. We overlap a lot, which is great, and we can work together. But if you start off with doing videos on social media and you get maybe 20 people following you because they really like your message, start there, because there's something about you and them. There's a chemistry there. So work there and expand from there. So don't be worried so much about, well, they've got 1.5 thousand views of their video and I only got 20, so don't worry about that for now. Just get better. If you want to get better, keep getting trained on how to do it better, get your energy up, work on you, and do these things. But work, I think your niche and the way you cut past the noise and the blizzard is either by spending a tremendous amount of money on marketing and ads and stuff like that to just blast the market, which I don't recommend. I've tried that, or to find the people that are already looking for you. Yes. I said this back when I wrote the book Sales Dogs, that marketing is really is not about converting everybody that breathes. It's about finding the people that are already looking for you. And I guarantee you there are people looking for you. They don't know that, and you don't know that, but I know that. And so by putting your message out consistently and creating great value to people and being impeccable with your word and all the things that we talk about, you will find your niche. Yeah, I don't know if there's any shortcut to it. I think, but if you like doing it, I have people that, who was I talking to just yesterday? Woman from Vietnam, and she's gone through our certification, and she's had some ups and downs on the business side of it. She's a great trainer, but she just had. And I just said, look, just persist. The problem was, well, somebody's doing this, so I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do this marketing. Now I'm going to go do this marketing. Now I'm going to pull in this partner, and I'm going, just stay focused. And so finally, after I think I hadn't talked to her in about 3 or 4 months, I talked to her yesterday, Sids, and it was different person. It was a different person. She had found she's involved in network marketing, and she decided to take her training and train her network marketing team. And it works, and they're selling, and she's expanding, and she's growing. And now, but people are asking her to do all these things. She's not marketing anything. People are coming to her because she had her little community. She only had what did she have? 20 people in her downline. That was it. But now she's booming, busting, and this is only in 4 months. But what happened was she found her place in the world out there. And my dream is that all those people that are finding their place in the world, if we have a common mission, a common methodology, a way of doing things, that's going to accelerate it. And I think that we create a movement, and the movement is to create the best teachers, leaders, and facilitators in the world. Because if we can do that, we make a difference, a big difference.
Amazing, Blair. Yeah, I just want to recommit myself that I'm with you on this mission, Blair. Thank you so much. And yes, I want to really carry forward that flag of what we have started off, and what you said, like helping people find their voice so that they can, really make a difference in the world and the way that they teach. So thank you, Blair, for what you do. So if you had to start all over again, if you had to start from scratch today, what would you do differently, Blair?
Okay, so I thought about this, and I'm going to say this, is that I don't think I'd do anything different. And the reason I wouldn't do anything different is because I've gone through some amazingly fantastic and also some amazingly catastrophic experiences in my life. And while the catastrophic ones I didn't like at all, and at times I wanted to quit, at times I thought I would never make it, it was incredibly valuable. I wouldn't change any of that. If I could just compact it down into maybe a couple of years rather than stretching it out over 25 or 30 years, that would have been better. But I wouldn't change anything. If there was something that I would change if I were starting all over today, I think that I would assemble a really good crack marketing team to work with me from the very beginning. But even then, I'm not so sure that I would do it much different than the way I've done it up till now.
Yes.
I think that we have a curriculum. I said it before, as a human being, and to try to shortcut that curriculum, I think would have been. It just wouldn't have worked. We wouldn't be sitting here talking today. Had I not got jumped by that guy and got called out back in the 80s, had I not been bumbling through, knocking on doors in Honolulu, had I not, gone through a painful divorce, blown up a franchise, rebuilt it again, had I not done all those things, you and I wouldn't be sitting here. Yes. I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be doing something else. So I think that it's a real common question. If you had to do it all over again, I'm just going to quote Bucky Fuller. Bucky Fuller said once, he goes, I wouldn't rue a thing. I wouldn't change a thing, and he had some pretty big disasters and some pretty big successes in his life too, but if you can hold that, that's how human beings learn. We learn by making mistakes. Some people learn it quick. Some people learn it slow. Some people will have to relearn it, but that's what makes you a great trainer. Is the not just sharing my story. It's sharing. It's coming from a ground of being where you have experienced the pain, you've experienced the success, you've experienced the setbacks, and you can understand people without telling people. They get that you get it. And when they get that, then they trust you. Then they'll trust and respect you. And then you've got a relationship. So, so I've had that question asked me before, what would you change? And honestly, I don't think I'd change anything.
Thank you, Blair. Superb. So all of you here watching, I think this has been an amazing interview. Blair has brought out the essence of what does it take to be a world-class trainer, world-class coach. And this is just the starting point. And each one of you here watching need to go through the entire process of the Trainer Mastery Program, then the Gold Certification. Blair, once again, thank you so much for your time. It really means a lot to me. For me, it was a More than just a fan moment, it's just a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much uh, for the kind of impact that you've had in my life. And once again, I want to say this: I want to recommit myself to serving you, supporting you in carrying forward your vision. Thank you so much, Blair.
Thank you so much, Sid.